Hello, it's my pleasure to give an overview about my presentation titled Digital Accessibility, a Systematic Literature Review that will be presented during the third International Conference on Quantitative and Qualitative Methods for Social Sciences. Authored by me, Fatima CHADLI, Dr. GRETETE Driss, and Dr. Aniss MOUMEN from Engineering Sciences Laboratory in National School of Applied Sciences, Ibn Tufayl University of Kenitra, Morocco. Here is an overview of what we are going to look at. The presentation will be in 5 parts. I'll start with an introduction about digital accessibility. Then I will give an overview about the methodology followed. I'll talk about meta-analysis and I give an overview about salient results, and I will finish with a conclusion. Before introducing digital accessibility, it's important to talk about disability. There are currently more than 1 billion disabled people in the world, according to the World Health Organization. And this number is increasing because of the aging and the increase of chronic disease. Disability involves one or more impairments, including visual, physical, mental, cognitive, hearing, or speech impairments. And people with disability face significant challenges in their day-to-day lives, especially when dealing with the web or the digital content. Digital accessibility means that people with disability should be able to access, navigate, perceive, and interact with content. And the content should be designed and developed in the way that allows people with disabilities to use them and interact with them despite the disability. World Wide Web Consortium, or W3C, the main international standards organization for the Internet, launched the Web Accessibility Initiative. It's a working group focusing on guidelines, technical reports, and other documents related to accessibility. The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, for short, WCAG, are parts of a series of web accessibility guidelines published by the Web Accessibility Initiative. Now I'll be getting into our methodology. The objective is to provide an overview of state-of-the-art and expose the different topics related to previous studies about digital accessibility, with a particular focus on Moroccan studies. For that, we followed a methodology based on a systematic literature review. As shown in the first table, the references used in our study were collected from different scientific databases as Springer Link, Science Direct, Google Scholar, Web of Science, CARE, Scopus, and Aniss. For types of references, 86.8% of those papers are articles, 4.9% are books, 2% represent chapter, and 6.4% of the references are conference papers. For word analysis, the figure shows a visual representation of the most words used in our references. The size of each word depends on its frequency. The most used words include accessibility, web disabilities, websites, learning, and government. You can also notice that visual impairment is the most used type of disability within the selection. We know that we included all types of disabilities without limitation or specification of impairment. Our systematic literature review includes international and Moroccan studies about the topic, and besides scientific papers, we also focused on Moroccan government initiatives related to digital accessibility. Morocco has engaged in a digital strategy in 2013 called Digital Morocco 2013 for public administration modernization. Among its notable results is the Common Charter for Governmental Websites. In this document, 4 recommendations were included: graphic elements, displays, readability, and responsive design. On the national scale, only 3 Moroccan studies were identified related to digital accessibility, specifically accessibility in e-government and accessibility in education. On international scale, we identified 19 studies that focused on specific components about accessibility instead of looking for digital accessibility in all its aspects, as shown in the table. Those specific components concern search engine, chatbot, web menus, semantic web service accessibility assessment framework, YouTube, video, auditory interfaces of desktop applications, audio descriptions, media player, video players, and speech technologies. To conclude, on the international scale, investigations could be divided into two groups. Some researchers carried out digital accessibility in all its aspects, and others focused on specific elements and components about accessibility. On the national scale, we detected a lack of descriptive and experimental research about digital accessibility in Morocco. Only a few studies have been conducted compared to other countries. This is the conclusion of my presentation, and I thank you for your listening and attention.